Hello and welcome. Today, author R.T. Cagle shares another inspiring story from the Bedtime Stories with Heart and Soul series, written to help you slow down, reflect, and end the day with a little more peace. Now, here's the author.
Hello, my name is author R.T. Cagles. Today's story is called Scarborough Body Surfing, so let's get started. The early morning sun began its slow ascent over the horizon, casting a soft golden hue across the sandy expanse of Scarborough Beach. The wind, still gentle, teased at the shoreline, and the air was filled with the soothing sounds of waves lapping against the shore. It was a perfect day for body surfing. For locals and tourists alike, Scarborough Beach, nestled on the southeastern coast of Rhode Island, had long been a favorite destination. It wasn't just the sweeping views of the Atlantic Ocean, the smooth, pristine sands, or the vibrant atmosphere that drew people in. It was the waves. The break at Scarborough was known for being powerful yet playful, the kind that pulled you in and made you feel alive. It was the ideal setting for body surfers who came from all over to experience the rush of riding waves without the use of a board. Among the early risers was Bryon, a seasoned body surfer who had been coming to this beach for as long as he could remember. For Bryon, body surfing wasn't just a hobby. It was an escape. The moment his body hit the water, everything else faded into insignificance. The weight of the world, the stress of work, the constant pressures of modern life all disappeared, replaced by the rhythm of the ocean. That morning, Bryon was eager to get into the water. He stood at the edge of the shore, his feet sinking into the cool, wet sand. Watching as the waves built up, crashed down, and then slowly receded back into the ocean. He closed his eyes for a moment, breathing in the salty air. This was where he felt most at home, on the edge of the world, at the mercy of nature's powerful forces. "Looks like a good day for it," a voice interrupted his thoughts. Bryon turned to see Tasha, his sister, and another body surfer who frequented the beach. She was a bit younger than him, but her enthusiasm and skill in the water had earned her a reputation among the local surf crowd. Like Bryon, Tasha didn't surf with a board. She preferred to feel the waves with her entire body, letting the ocean guide her in a way that felt more natural and free. "It's perfect," Bryon replied, nodding toward the ocean. "Are you ready?" Tasha grinned, adjusting her swimsuit. "Always." Together, they waded into the water, the cold shock of the ocean invigorating them both. They swam out past the break, where the waves were just starting to form. The water was clear and inviting, with just the right amount of pull to keep them moving. Bryon could feel the anticipation building in his chest. There was something about the unpredictability of body surfing that kept him coming back for more. You could never fully control the ocean. You could only work with it, riding its energy and flow. As they floated, waiting for the right wave, Bryon glanced over at Tasha. She had a look of pure focus on her face, her eyes scanning the horizon. It reminded him of when he was younger, when he first fell in love with the ocean and the art of body surfing. It wasn't just about the thrill of catching a wave. It was about being connected to something larger than himself. "Here it comes!" Tasha shouted suddenly, pointing toward the horizon. Bryon turned just in time to see a large swell approaching. His heart quickened, and he positioned himself, ready to take the wave. The water beneath him shifted as the wave built up, lifting him higher and higher until he felt the familiar pull of gravity. And then, with a rush of energy, the wave rushed forward, and Bryon was flying. There was nothing quite like the feeling of body surfing. The sensation of speed, the power of the water propelling you forward, and the weightlessness as the wave carried you toward the shore. Bryon's body cut through the water, his arms outstretched forward to guide his path, his chest and torso skimming the surface. The spray of the ocean filled his senses, and for a few glorious moments it felt like he was one with the sea. Tasha caught the same wave, and out of the corner of his eye, Bryon saw her glide effortlessly alongside him. They both rode the wave until it began to lose its momentum, gradually depositing them back near the shore. As they emerged from the water, laughing and catching their breath, Bryon felt a familiar surge of adrenaline. Every wave was different, and each one brought with it a unique experience. There were moments of complete harmony when you were perfectly in sync with the water. And then there were times when the ocean humbled you, tossing you under the surface with a force that reminded you of its strength. "That was incredible!" Tasha exclaimed, shaking the water from her hair. Bryon nodded in agreement. I think that was one of the best rides I've had in a while. The two of them swam back out, eager for more. As the morning wore on, more people arrived at the beach. Some were there to swim, and a few brave souls had come to try their hand at body surfing. Bryon noticed a father and son swimming out together, the boy's eyes wide with excitement as his dad showed him how to catch a wave. It reminded him of his own dad, who had introduced him to the sport many years ago. Body surfing wasn't just a sport, it was a tradition. It was something passed down from one generation to the next, a way of connecting with the ocean in its most natural form. That's what Bryon loved the most. There were no fancy tricks, no equipment needed, just you and the sea. It was raw, it was real, and it was endlessly rewarding. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Bryon and Tasha continued to ride wave after wave, each one bringing with it a new adventure. They exchanged tips and tricks, laughed when they wiped out, and cheered each other on when they caught the perfect break. The ocean, always in motion, kept them on their toes, and every wave was a reminder of how powerful and beautiful nature could be. By midday, the beach was bustling with activity. Families set up umbrellas, groups of friends played volleyball, and surfers dotted the water waiting for their next ride. But for Bryon and Tasha, the real magic was out past the break, where the waves were untamed and the connection with the ocean was pure. As they lay on their backs, floating in the water and staring up at the sky, Bryon felt a deep sense of contentment. There was something about Scarborough Beach, something about body surfing, that made him feel more alive than anywhere else in the world. It's funny, Bryon thought about aloud. Every time I come out here, it feels like I'm rediscovering the ocean all over again. Tasha nodded. That's the beauty of it. The ocean is always changing. No two waves are ever the same. They floated in silence for a while, letting the gentle rise and fall of the water soothe them. Bryon closed his eyes, feeling the sun warm his face, the salt water clinging to his skin. This was his happy place. Out here, near the vast expanse of the ocean, everything made sense. As the afternoon drew on, the waves became gentler. The wind calmed and the beach began to empty out. Bryon and Tasha, exhausted from hours of body surfing, finally made their way back to shore. They collapsed onto the sand, breathing heavily but grinning from ear to ear. Another perfect day at Scarborough, Tasha said, wiping her face with a towel. Bryon chuckled. I'd say so. They sat in companionable silence, watching the sun slowly dip toward the horizon, casting a warm glow across the beach. The waves, ever present, continued their endless dance, crashing and receding in a timeless rhythm. For Bryon and Tasha, there was no better feeling in the world than riding those waves, being part of something so much bigger than themselves. Body surfing at Scarborough Beach wasn't just a sport. It was a way of life, a way of connecting with nature, and a reminder that sometimes the simplest things brought the greatest joy. And so, as the day faded into evening, Bryon and Tasha knew they would be back tomorrow, riding the waves of freedom. Thank you for joining me.
Hello again. As we come to a close, remember to like, subscribe, and follow us so you don't miss a single adventure. Thank you for spending this heartfelt moment with us. Until next time, we hope this story brought you a little peace as the day comes to a close.